Welcome to another edition of It's a Long Beach Thing. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and like us on Facebook and on Instagram. We have a fun show for you today. We have my good friend Desiree Vavak. Desiree, how are you today?
Hi, Paul. It's so great to be here. I'm doing well. And you pronounce it actually Vavac.
Oh,
It's okay.
Vavac,
A lot of
excuse
people
me.
say, yeah, a lot of people say Vavak. But yeah, Vavac. And I'm so happy to be here. I love Long Beach. So when you said that you could interview me for It's a Long Beach thing, I said, oh, I'm excited. It makes sense. I'm a native to Long Beach. So here I am.
Sounds good. Well, let's dive in, shall we?
Sounds good.
What's your first association with this great city of Long Beach?
Well, since I'm born and raised in Long Beach, it's as a small child. And one of the first things I think I remember about Long Beach as a kid is joining the campfire organization. And as a kid, I learned a lot about camping, outdoors, and community involvement through that organization. But it was really fun and social. And a lot of kids from my class and my school were involved in that. But I became a campfire girl, and that's up. There's a campfire program up near Studebaker and Carson,
Is
and
that
I
by
really recommend.
McBride High School?
Yeah, right by McBride. Have you seen? Maybe you've seen the grounds of it, like looking off of Carson. You could see like they have a big, huge green grass area where they do some camping out there. So it's a really nice facility, and I learned a lot from being a campfire girl. But that's probably my first association. And then I went on to do Girl Scouts, Sea Scouts, and many other Long Beach things. So I have so much to share about Long Beach, actually. But I love Long Beach. Like the three things I always say about Long Beach is you can't get better weather than in Long Beach. The commute is amazing from Orange County to LA. And then the diversity of the people, that's the best part about Long Beach. It's just all the things you'll be exposed to. It's a big melting pot. There's no minority and no majority, in my opinion. It's a spread of social classes as well. So you just learn a lot from other people in Long Beach, and it's a fun, cool city to be in.
Yeah, to your point, I don't know if it's still this way, but about 10 or 15 years ago, Long Beach was one of the most equally diverse cities in the nation. I don't know if that's still the case today, but still a lot of great diversity in our town.
That's truly the beauty of it, is just the people and all the things you can be exposed to. And then it makes you a better person, I believe, like a more open-minded person living in this city, the things you learn.
Absolutely. Well, I want to dive into your story a little bit.
Sure.
I want to talk about first, I want to talk about your love of the water.
Oh yeah.
So how'd that come about?
um I was a mermaid in a past life. I must have been. I as a kid I took a lot of swim lessons, like shout out to the YMCA. That's where I originally first learned to swim. And it was my mother who kind of pushed me there. Maybe she wanted me to be water safe. But I went through all the lessons, and I kept going to lessons. And I remember becoming, I passed all the lessons. And then the next step was to do like a lifeguard kind of program that they had at the pool. So I kept doing laps and learning how to gain more endurance and strength in the water. But eventually, that led me to doing junior lifeguards for the city of Long Beach. They're actually doing tryouts right now for junior guards. I know a few that have tried out recently. And junior guards is an amazing summer program. If you know how to swim, you have to pass a swim test. But I did that all through high school, all 4 years. Every summer, you would find me down on the peninsula and at the beach in Long Beach, running all over the place, jumping off the pier, all kinds of fun things. And then I went on to be a swimmer at Long Beach Polytechnic High School. And also, I joined the inaugural women's water polo team at Poly in 1995. So that brought a different change to swimming. And then I went on to Long Beach City College and played water polo and swam there as well, and had such a fun time. So it's always been something I love to do, but it's led to so many other activities. Like I love to sail, I love to kayak, I love to paddleboard. Just being in the water, living in Long Beach. I mean, living in Long Beach, surrounded by water. If you don't know how to swim and you don't gain those water skills, you miss out on so much fun. Like one of the funnest things to do is ride a Duffy boat around Long Beach, right? It's like a beautiful experience at sunset. Some people just like don't want to stick a toe into the water. So I always encourage people to learn how to swim. I was a swim teacher for 7 years for the city of Long Beach as well. So I'm definitely waterlogged over here.
Well, I want to talk to you about that. So I mean, you played college ball, which is a feat that only about 5% of the population be able to play. So I want to talk about, you got into water polo at Poly. You didn't,
Yeah,
I'm assuming you didn't play water polo before that. You were obviously a strong swimmer, but you didn't
yeah,
play water polo until you got into poly. So talk about that experience playing a sport that you've never played before. Obviously, you're a
right.
strong swimmer, so obviously that helped. But I got to believe that there was some growing pains in playing a sport that you've never played before in high school, where you have other schools like Wilson, who's really, really
Mhm.
strong in water polo, and get in there and compete.
Definitely. I think at the time, since it was a new sport for women, like it became a CIF sport in 95. So I don't think many women were trained for water polo, even Wilson. Like nobody was really ready for that.
Hmm.
It was so spanking new. And I think that it kind of just I remember kind of being pushed by my coaches like, hey, we need to create a water polo team. They're finally letting us. And then it was like all the swimmers were going to be the water polo team. Of course, some opted out. They were like, not for me. It's aggressive and a different thing than how individualized swimming can be. So a lot of people backed away from it. But the ones that gravitated towards it, I mean, we learned how to it's so much funner than swimming by far, the game of polo. But yes, you have to be of the mindset to want to compete and it's definitely aggressive and different, but the base of it is being a really strong swimmer. If you're not a strong swimmer, water polo, like a lot of these water polo players look like they're drowning when they first start polo. Not to say they're not learning, but it takes quite a bit of years to get good at water polo. I say by the end of high school, I finally knew what I was doing in water polo, but it took some time, and to learn that skill is not easy, but it's so much fun. And it's like such a building of confidence to be able to master that game. And when you hear about water polo, like they talk about it like it's the hardest sport in the world. I kind of agree with that. It's one of the hardest. Like it's kind of two sports in one in a sense, but I loved it. And I learned a lot as I went, and it led me to playing in college. In college, I had the amazing opportunity of working with a USA Women's Water Polo member who was my coach. Her name was Amber Drury Pinto, and she went on to be the head coach of Cal Berkeley. And I said, wow, I was lucky to have her. And she really showed us the strategy of the game of polo and how to do plays and really think about it deeper than just playing on the surface. We were setting up the game a lot differently with her. So she improved us incredibly. But I feel really honored to have had her as my coach at Long Beach City College. She taught me more than any other coach in water polo, you know.
When you were a senior at Poly, sounds like you start to really understand the game and start to really
Yeah,
get good at it. Um,
right.
were you recruited from Long Beach State College? Did you have to try out? How did that come about when you made that transition to play college ball?
Um, you know, that's it's hard for me to remember. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure that you could just, I mean, I know there was a tryout. There definitely was a tryout for City College. And maybe it was a little simpler for me coming from 3 years of already playing. But just that transition was rough in the fact that now college level sports play at a higher level. So back in high school, maybe I was swimming 4,000 yards a day, and now college is 6,000 yards a day. Like I was much more tired, and we had to dedicate a lot more. We had to come in the morning to do weight training, and then we had to swim our 6,000 yards, and then we had a polo scrimmage. So it's like so much conditioning, way more than high school. And that's it's tough when you're taking on more studies and you're taking on your sport. But if you persevere through that, and you prove that to yourself, like that you can do it and get through it all, it's amazing. And then the bonds that are made through sports is probably has changed my life. Like I have so many amazing friendships through those people I played with. So that also is a big part of it.
Did you think about continuing on
I did.
your training at water polo to
Yeah.
a university?
Yeah. I don't like to talk about regrets, but I might have a small one. Back when Amber Drury Pinto was my coach, I was a really fast swimmer. I was always the sprinter for our team. So she goes, Des, you can go far in water polo if you just apply yourself. And she was willing to write me letters and help me get scholarship. And one of the schools I was looking at was University of Hawaii. And I kind of chickened out about moving and uprooting myself from Long Beach to go there on my own. And but I did see a future in polo, like and getting scholarships and going to university. I ended up going to Cal State Fullerton from Long Beach City College. And unfortunately, at the time, Fullerton did not have a water polo team. So I kind of had to make that decision to be like, okay, time to focus on studies or continue on with my sport. And, in female sports, maybe they're not as lucrative as some male sports may be to pursue further, right? So I think I had to have that hard conversation with myself to say, like, are you going to continue on in sports? You're going to focus on career and your future. Like, what's it going to be? And I didn't see like, I knew I loved polo, but I didn't see it being, giving back so much to me in the sense of my future and my career. So I kind of made that, drew the line in the sand. But when I went to Hawaii later, I said, oh, I made a big mistake here. I should have been here, like, on the island and experiencing that life. I think it was more of a financial burden to me and my family, those worries. And that's unfortunate, right? Um, but not, I didn't look into so many scholarships. I could have had one for polo. So I kind of just made the decision before trying to see how, is there a way to get there on my own? Is there more financial aid and help for me? I could have gone further down that road to explore. So I want to encourage everyone that might be listening to this to take your path, take the loans that you need to take, look for the scholarships, the grants, because, you don't want to have those regrets ever, right?
Yeah, take back that pen and write the story that you want for yourself, not for anybody else. You
Yeah.
are the author of your story. So
Yeah.
I well said. So you're a Titan. You're
Yes.
what major were you at Cal State Fullerton?
I was business major with
Yeah.
with an undecided like focus for a long time. I knew always I wanted to be a businesswoman, but I didn't know like where I fit along the way. And so, some things occurred in my life that kind of pushed me into the career I'm in now, actually. So, yeah.
So talk about you graduate from Cal State Fullerton, Titan.
Right.
Where did you go from there?
So, upon graduating, it's all blur now, but I think when I was graduating, I was also, yeah, I think right after graduation, I bought a home. And I probably had no business
Wow.
buying a home. Yeah. I had no business with a home at that point. But that experience with that home is what led me into my career. So I bought a home with an adjustable rate mortgage
Stated
that I
income, I'm
probably,
assuming.
yes, stated income, qualified on the minimum payment option, which is not the
Was it an
payment to
option?
pay,
Where's it? Were we?
is an
Did you have
option
an option
arm.
on?
Yep.
Okay.
So they qualified me on the minimum,
Hmm.
or from what I remember. And then as it started adjusting over time, it was getting out of control and the market changed.
Really,
This was
real
around
quick,
2004
real quick. I
time.
want to pause you for a
Mhm.
second.
Sure.
I know what an option arm is, but
Hmm.
many people might not know what an option arm is. Can you explain that kind of a loan?
Yeah. So it was set up for someone that might be a commission-based borrower, a self-employed person. Some months that you may be getting higher commissions and bonuses, others maybe not so much, right? So it's for like the borrower that has a fluctuating income style. I was not that kind of borrower. I was working for the city of Long Beach in Parks and Rec. I had an hourly pay. I was always consistent with my income. So qualifying me on the minimum payment was setting me up for failure, basically, because that loan later will adjust to a principal and interest payment as time moves forward. And that's what happened. And then I was stuck with this payment I couldn't afford and facing foreclosure.
Not only
So,
that, the if you pay the minimum payment, it doesn't cover any of the sometimes it doesn't even cover all of the interest, correct? And that
yeah,
goes back on the
sometimes,
back end of the loan as well, correct?
yeah, sometimes it negatively amortizes and adds back on the loan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like, it didn't make sense for me at all.
Hmm.
And I was very upset once I realized that this option arm was like, it's kind of a nightmare,
Hmm.
like, so I scrambled and I tried to short sell the house that I had. And this was years later. So maybe I picked up the house around 2005, I want to say. And then 2007 is when things started getting out of hand. And I tried to short sell the house 3 separate times. Tried to short sell the house to another buyer. They couldn't qualify for their loan because this is like 2007 times where loans start changing, right? So they keep flopping on me, the buyers. So I eventually hit foreclosure. I tried to walk away in good faith, but I hit foreclosure. And then I said, oh, God, it is what it is. I cried a lot about it at the
Whereabouts
time.
was the home?
It was in Lakewood,
Okay.
actually, not Long Beach.
Close by.
Yeah, close by. So, you know, I was a business graduate. I majored in business marketing, and this happened to me. I was maybe I didn't do my research enough either as a young person buying this home. Like I didn't know what the heck I was signing up for, but I learned that hard lesson.
Hmm.
Okay. And then I said, what am I going to do with my life?
Hmm.
I turned to mortgage right away. I said, I don't want this to happen to other people. I want to be involved in showing people what the true options are and educating them on the loans that they have so they don't face foreclosure or problems in the future, that they're well qualified for what they have and they know all that it entails. A lot of people in the industry sadly are quick to make a commission check, right? They don't take the time and the care to look at what the client really needs or look at the future of the client. So, the person who qualified me, they just wanted the check. They did not care about if this loan was right for me, well suited. And that's why in 2011, finally, we have a mortgage loan originator's license that came out. Can you believe that this license only came out in 2011? So, in order to do a loan prior to this license being issued by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, you had to just be a realtor. And there was no loan training on how to sell a loan, how to qualify a loan. And it's sad to hear that. I still believe in my industry that there's not enough focus on what's right for the borrower. It's more like, oh, I'm working with this lender right now. Here's the loan for you. It's not about looking through multiple lenders and shopping the loan. That's why I like to stay in that wholesale broker channel to really provide options. It is so important to me. It's not easy to stay in this channel. I could go work for a retail bank and have people coming up to me all day, walk into my desk and have business, right? But I want to do it the right ethical way. And I believe looking at all your lender options is so important because there's so many loan programs and solutions out there. But if you don't know about them, or if your loan originator that's working with you doesn't know, you're not connected to that solution.
I want to
So,
back up a little bit on that
sure.
because you got into the business. I would say probably around '08, '09.
Yeah, actually in '07 even I started dabbling in loans a little bit. And I'll tell you where. it was interesting because I did loans in Mexico. It was préstamos in Mexico. Why did I do that? Because at the time I could do loans in Mexico without a real estate license.
Okay.
So I started with that and it was interesting. Oh my gosh, so interesting. I learned a lot. But I eventually got my real estate license and then I was able to do loans here in US. In 2008 is when I did that change.
So the reason why I want to bring that point up is because I was in that industry, as you know, at that time,
Yeah.
and it was hard to do
Oh my God.
business because one is you refer to it as the crash happened where
Mm-hmm.
banks were like, oh no, the mortgage-backed securities are not buying these loans anymore because
Mm-hmm.
of all the stated income, the stuff that you kind of got hurt on with getting a loan that really wasn't good for you.
Right.
So the banks were like, "Oh well, we're not going to buy those the mortgage-backed securities. We're not buying that anymore." So the
Mm-hmm.
banks really had to tighten up, and
Yeah.
really they the pendulum swing the opposite way, going, "You if one iota is out of line, if that T is not crossed, we're not going to do the loan." It
Yeah.
got really hard. So it was really hard for mortgage loan officers to make a living. Even in my opinion, there was a lot of loans out there that should have been done, but because of the pendulum swing so far to the other side, a lot of loans couldn't get done at that point in time. So that's a feather in your cap to be
Yeah.
able to survive and making income
Survival.
in a time period where it was very hard to get a loan done.
Yes. And my focus during that, I was like, what am I gonna focus on? Like no one can do a loan right now. No one's qualifying. Like, what am I gonna do? And what I did is I focused on what is currently happening. Hardship is happening in mortgage.
Mhm.
So and I was a part of it. Like I went through my own hardships. So, I had that empathy inside of me. Like I didn't want anyone else to lose their home if they could keep it. Some people were just living out of their means and it made sense to walk or do a short sale and walk in good faith. But what I did at that time is I did loan modifications. And it's really funny how I even got approached by the idea because I didn't even know what that was. But I had my office manager came to me and he threw a file on my desk and he goes, if you could do this loan modification on this file, I'll pay you $800. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like nice, right? I'd like to make $800. So I'm like, okay, how do you do it? He's like, I don't know. Call the bank and figure it out. So I did. I called the bank and I figured it out. And then I figured it out a little bit better on the next one and the next one, the next one. And I realized what we're just doing loans here. And after a modification happens, they want to put you back in the standing of a new borrower outside of going through some hardship. They want to get you back on track, but they were really hard to qualify for. They wanted you kind of like you were a new borrower, but you weren't a new borrower. You had more debt and less income than a new borrower, maybe, right? You needed them to be a little bit more lenient with you. And so that was a challenge. And not until the Home Affordable Modification Program was released, um, Obama was a part
Yep.
of that.
MHA.
That made me be able to do a whole ton more of modifications, and because it was more reasonably, the terms were more reasonable for someone coming out of hardship, right? It made more sense. The parameters before were unreasonable to someone coming out of hardship. So then that program, I was able to help so many more borrowers save their home. And it's the most rewarding place to be, saving a home. It's not lucrative for me. You don't make a lot of money doing it. But the client, it's like they love you after that. They're with you for
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
after you save their livelihood like that. So I got really rewarded and I had built some great relationships with clients at the time, even though I wasn't making good money at all. For probably 2 years into the business of being licensed in the United States, no money to be made. And my parents looked at me like, why didn't you just take that corporate marketing job? Why did you pick real estate? So it was rough, but coming full circle today, it's like 17 years later. Um, I made it through a poor economy at the time, and when I'm faced with that challenge today, I know what to do. I know how to like change up my business and who to serve at those times because I did it back then and I could do it again. And now there's actually a similar, but the HAMP program is no longer. It's changed. There's a flex program Fannie and Freddie have that kind of mocks the HAMP program today. So actually, I've had clients that go through modifications even today. Maybe they lose their mortgage or lost a job or whatever it was that, we always say death, disability, divorce, decreased hours. There's so many reasons people will come across these hardships. But I've seen a lot of people get loan modifications approved today, even like 6 months behind, and they don't realize that they could get back on track. Some people might let's say, oh, it's over for me. Like there's no hope, right? And I always tell people, like, give me a call. And I offer these services for free to guide people through hardship. I don't charge for them anymore. I just say, these are the things you need to do, and call me if you need help. But you could it's a DIY thing you could do now. You just have to know how to follow up and how to stay on track and where to apply and just the technicality behind it. But, loan modifications still exist. There's still a lot of mortgage hardship out there. So now I've turned more towards reverse mortgage. And I consider it a hardship type product. But reverse mortgage is near and dear to my heart because it is the same type of client as I remember back in 2008. But it's also an elderly client that needs to be handled with great care. So that I take pride in doing reverse mortgage and staying very ethical with that demographic and making sure they're making the right decision with that.
I want to talk a little bit about the housing economics because you've seen quite a bit of a change from 17 years into the business, a time period where you talk about short sales where
Mhm.
home values were lower than their actual mortgage, a really low time in the
Yeah.
mortgage industry to a point in time where homes in Long Beach area and the surrounding areas of Southern California going up to high peaks. Areas like you mentioned, Lakewood and other parts of Long Beach, it used to be considered what they called a blue collar area where you had a blue collar job. Although blue collar jobs actually now are making a lot more money than
Yeah.
white collar jobs in some cases if you're in the trades. But anyway, it used to be like you used to get into a home in parts of Long Beach and Lakewood. It used to be called what's called a starter home, where you get into it, like a 2 bedroom, 1 bath type home. You build
Right.
up equity, and then then you move up if you wanted to start a family, and that was kind of like the kind of the American dream, so to speak.
Yeah.
But now you look at it in Lakewood and in Long Beach, these 2 bedroom, 1 bath homes are now going for close to $1 million. And as a result of that starter home,
Mhm.
kids coming out of college, obviously
Right.
$1 million is most likely out of their range.
Yeah.
So where do you see a change that might help these kids coming out of college where they want to build equity, they want to build wealth
Yeah.
in buying a home, but they're in a situation now where, like I said, a 2 bedroom, 1 bath is close to $1 million.
Affordability is rough, right?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of solutions though. And
Hmm.
there's the mortgage market and the mortgage loan programs out there always changing to try to accommodate the current economy and what's trending, right? And time is of the essence, right? With building equity. Like we want to get our foot in the door sooner than later. It is so important because you'll say, oh, I got to save up enough. It's like, when is that going to happen? 10, 15 years down the line. It's rough. So, and then where's the price of living if you wait 10, 15 years? Are you now tapped out of what those purchase prices will be? Most likely, right? Because our income is not keeping up with the cost of living. And that's our economic problem here. But there's a lot of loan solutions that can offset this. And one thing is don't don't knock out the idea of starting small. Start small with a condo, a little condo. If you could afford, that is number one most important thing. If you could afford that payment, if you could qualify on that payment, get your foot in. Don't be scared to grow equity because that's your stepping stone to the next property. Once you have one, it's so much easier to get the next. You could leverage one for the next. You can keep them both if you want and create a rental, or you could sell one to move to another primary, a bigger, better primary, right? But a lot of people, oh, I can't afford the payment. The payments are too high. It's ridiculous. I don't want to live as a slave to the mortgage, right? So, what is another way? Don't knock away another way, which is rental income properties. Okay. These loans that are now on rental income properties are very easy to get, and their interest rates are very close to conventional rates. So they're competing with conventional typical loan programs out there. So these loans, if you could cover your mortgage with the rent itself, you get the loan. They don't care about your income and expenses. They care that the property can function and cover itself, right? So think about this. If you can raise your 20, 30% down, and sometimes you could go a little bit lower down, but 20, 30% usually gives you the best rate possibility. If you could focus on raising that money and maybe you borrow it, maybe you can get it from a family member because, gifts are allowed in a lot of these situations with lending. But if you can get your foot in the door in a rental where the rents cover the mortgage and you can just grow equity over time and not be responsible for paying that mortgage payment, there's your start. Okay. And you did not commit to a mortgage payment, but you have to come up with this initial investment, right? So it's an idea to get your foot in on a start. The other idea that's really big right now happening in mortgage is shared appreciation loans. So there's a lot of down payment assistance. You might have heard of California Dream for All program that starts registration February 24th, actually. It's a first generational home buyer program that gives 150,000 down. And then we have LIPA and MIPA. Those are City of LA community programs. So if you pick the right location and your income hits the income limits with versus your family size, you could take advantage of LIPA and MIPA. They give 120,000 or 160,000 down payment towards your property. The shared appreciation mortgage, so when they give you 20 or 30% down, they share in 20 or 30% of your equity growth as moving forward. So it's kind of like they're an investor with you in the house. In a sense, it could be like your uncle let you borrow this money and he's saying he wants to also own a piece of the house until you pay him back, you know? So it's money. This money is big money. It's money it takes a long time to save. And that's why these shared appreciation loans exist. So they're giving you this big down payment, making the payment more reasonable monthly for you. And they're sharing in the appreciation. When you refinance, if you cash out and you could wipe them out with, if you have enough equity in your property, you can get rid of them. Or when you sell, you can get rid of them. But think about what is the alternative if you went after a different kind of loan. It would be a long waiting period to gain that down payment. So don't knock the shared appreciation mortgage. It's your foot in the door to grow equity over time and make a reasonable payment happen. So there's so many solutions, even though we're faced with affordability is tough, right? Even like going after duplexes or units that where you could live in one, rent the other. There's so many ideas out there. And it's just about talking to someone who knows different products, right? With lending and just being determined, I think is the most important thing. Like when I meet someone that wants to buy a house, I feel the vibe, whether they're qualified, not at all, or they are the one that wants it more and sees like, I want this so bad. And I'm going to do it no matter what. Like, the right mindset, Paul, like you work on with people. It's like, if they could have the mindset right and be that determined to get the house, they're going to get it. It's
Yeah.
just like, we'll help them make the plan. It might take time, but if you
Yeah.
stay focused on the prize, you're going to get it. Right.
Yeah. And I've learned a little bit lately that there's like opportunity actually to buy um, duplexes and triplexes more than it used to be because there's
Nice.
landlords out there there's been regulations that have come
Yes.
into play that a lot of landlords are like, you know what, I don't want to bother with this anymore. Let me
Yeah.
sell it. And as a result of that, there is people now will have an opportunity to buy these properties they probably wouldn't have had a few years ago, but they have it now because there is more properties, and you could probably speak to it more than I can, but there's more properties than a while ago that
Mhm.
are, you know, multi-unit properties that are on the market that weren't before, and as a result of more of the market share there, as a result, the sales price is not as high just because
Right.
there's a flood of them, and there's more
Yep.
competition to sell those homes. So there is opportunity for people that want to
That's
get
right.
into that type of work to get in there.
For sure. Um, yeah, units have their challenges, right? I always say this about rental property. I say it's problematic, but profitable. It will always have more profit than problem.
Mhm.
So you have to, it's not easy at times, but it goes through phases of being tough. Like maybe sometimes in between tenants, it gets a little rough, right? Where you got to change over the unit, put a
Or
little
the
money and
AC
time.
breaks, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Things, yeah, maintenance stuff. Like
roof,
that's when you're like, oh, I can't
yeah,
stand this rental, right?
yeah.
But you love it when it's bringing in the dough every month and like
Hmm.
cash flowing. It's beautiful.
What's
And
the
then when it,
what's the rule of thumb on, like, you know, like with, you know, like a roof, you know, roof being repaired, appliance that need to be fixed? What's the
right.
rule of thumb as far as when you you know, get your rent payment from the renter? What is the percentage would you need to put away in a separate fund so that you have it for, you know, a rainy day, meaning, you know,
Yeah.
something happened and you have funds to pay for that problem?
Right. I say put away the most you can, but being mindful of the property itself and the conditions of it. You know that the roof is bad right now, and that is your next maintenance thing to cover, right? So you know that you're gonna have to. You should maybe set aside more at that time because you have a big repair coming up. You know, it's always important to set aside regardless because you don't some things you don't know will pop up like oh a water pipe burst or something, right? But being mindful of doing your inspections when you're either gaining the property or let's say years have gone by and you're renting it. Let's say like oh 7 years went by, I've been renting it but I haven't stepped in the door for 7 years to check what the conditions are like. That I don't advise. I think every year or every other year you should get in the property, maybe even send in the home inspector to really pay attention to what is coming up in maintenance and what you could prepare for, right? My dad, he's an electrician, and he always says, I know what's going on with my properties, right? And I said, well, you haven't been under the house and in the attic in a while. It's not a place many people want to be. So I pushed him to do an inspection on a rental property in transition of tenants, and he found a huge leak in the floor, and he had to rebuild the floor. It took a month, and I'm like, look, you could have moved in a tenant and not even have known about that repair if you didn't do your homework on it. And a lot of people, people want to cut corners or not pay for these type of services to keep up maintenance, from termite to home inspection to like changing your AC filters and stuff like that. Like when you take on this job of being a landlord, you have to know that you have certain, there's basics you need to cover. And it can be hard. Like if you've never owned a property, you're new to being you have income property now. I encourage people to go to property management school and learn more about property management. Read the guide for California tenants and landlords. Know your business well if this is what you want to get involved in. The mom and pop type landlords, they get a lot of extra leniency when it comes to being a landlord, but they also have to do their hard work because they could be hit with liabilities and problems from not knowing maybe changes in the laws or how to deal with the LA Housing Authority and different things like that they need to educate themselves on. So being a landlord, it's running a business. It's the same. You have to take it like you have to treat it like a business And you can't I always tell people you can't be too chummy with your tenants and make them your best friends, because this is your business, and you have to it's not going to be easy if they're so close to you, to give them the hard news of, oh, your rent's going up, or like, I have to move you out because I'm moving in, or whatever it is. Treat it like a business, as you would, any other. Not, it's not some, oh, let me hook up my friends with a place to stay. Like, don't do it.
And you also mentioned home inspection, and
Yeah.
I bought a few homes in my day, and one of the things like I remember, especially my first
Mhm.
home, that home inspection, I'm like my eyes are
So
like wide
scary.
open. It feels like, oh, this is a money pit, because they go
Yeah.
over every minute little detail
Right.
about it. And I know that you concentrate a lot on the mortgage side, but I know you also do some real estate deals as well.
I
Um,
dabble in a little real estate. Yeah.
in that sense, when you're in when you're wearing that hat and you're
Mhm.
representing your borrower, and you're the buying agent, and
Yeah.
you have this home inspection, and this person, that's their first home ever, and they see that thick book of what the home inspection came out of.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you help bring down that anxiety? Because
Right.
there's definitely anxiety, because they're like looking at this report
Yeah.
going, oh my gosh, I can't, this property's, it's a lemon. I can't live in here no more.
It sure does feel like that when you see the home inspection report. It's like full of red marks. Like you're like, no way. Like, it's scary. But it's funny how a lot of them do come up with the same things, right? Like, we see these red marks a lot to the realtors. Some realtors will say, oh, it's not a big deal. It's like, that's not easy to hear. And like, oh, let's just like brush that off. That the fireplace is broken. Like, some realtors may try to do that. What I like to do is, when I have the home inspection, I want the buyers to be there at the home inspection, because that home inspector, you don't have to follow him around the whole time, even though you can. You can breathe down his neck, Um,
I'm sure they
some
appreciate
do.
that.
Yeah, they love it. But they do this whole summary of findings at the end, and they sit down and talk to you guys about what they found. And the way they say it is very different from the report. It's more like very easygoing, and like, it's not, they really give you the truth about it. Or they may say, like, look more into this or that. Like, that's what I always say about the initial inspection. If there's like low water pressure, like the electrical panel's a hot mess, get the electrician down, get the plumber down. Maybe some realtors don't encourage that because they know that could cancel their deal, right? But I want to make sure that this homeowner really loves what they have and knows what they have. Because if it is a lemon, let's walk together. Let's get out of here. You have to investigate and really know. So having the summary of the findings in person is very key to knowing, like, to taking it all in without freaking out, I'll say. But then you go over the report, and I like to go over it really slowly with the borrower, and they'll tell me which items are really bothering them. I've had some buyers say, oh, I want everything fixed to perfection, like it was new, right? So we have to talk reasonably about that. Like, oh, it might not all turn out brand new. Like, if it's not really broken, why do we have to have, they might not want to give you an upgrade, right? But to the safety and health type issues in that report, those are typically the ones that we can get done. So, if there's some kind of big safety concern about something broken in the property, that is something like typically a seller will have to address, or maybe we ask for credit towards the closing costs of the buyer, you know? So just like guiding them through it. I'll notice that a lot of people, it's funny, a lot of people get scared of the electrical section, because maybe that's the most unknown piece of the major system that most people don't know a lot about, right?
And
And
it's probably the
it's
most
a little
dangerous piece.
dangerous system. And I come from a family of electricians. So I get my little, like, oh, I have my electricians take a peek, or I might send them down to look at the panel, and just get their take. Because sometimes what I notice, whether it's plumber, electrician, they'll come down to the property, they might look at what's going on, and they want you to do like this huge upgrade, gives them a good paycheck, right? If they say, oh, you need to rewire your whole home and do a new panel. That'd be the best thing. When they could like ground one outlet for $5 with a new plug, right? So like I think sometimes these third parties come and take advantage of the buyers and what they really need. And then if they don't have any knowledge of owning a home before, never had done any do it yourself maintenance or had contractor types that they knew, it's hard to navigate. But just doing your research and getting 3 quotes or even more to know, like, is this price correct? Is this guy going to say the same thing as that one did? And just putting them up together and kind of doing your research. So that it's so important to do your due diligence when looking at a property. It's everything, right? You don't want a big maintenance bill. You're already putting your whole life savings on the line to buy this house, right? And then you're like, oh, now I have like 5 different major systems acting up on me. Yeah, you got to do your investigation best you can.
A lot of great knowledge that you've talked to us about. What
Thank you.
what does your future look like? What does Desiree's future look like? Whether it be in mortgage, whether it be in life, what does the future hold for Desiree?
Well, let's see. I'm excited about the future. I have 2 young sons, and they're 8 and 10 right now. And I always look forward to adventuring the world with them and traveling. And they're at an age that I could focus more on career again. These last 10 years have been not easy. I'm a single mom of these 2 kids and running business at the same time. Luckily, I work very remotely and I can be home and pick them up from school and do all these things from the freedom of my industry. But I want to meet more people. I want to network more. I want to get in front of people more. That's why I'm doing this podcast. It's not really the thing I do. This is my first podcast ever, actually. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
But just getting out there, sharing my knowledge more, meeting more people. I've been mostly word of mouth type of gaining referrals from word of mouth most of my career. And I'll get referrals from referrals, but I haven't been out in the public as much. So I want to step into that more, be more exposed, be more out and about in my wonderful city of Long Beach. There's so many fun events around here, right? To go to and just, taking more education. I always like to continue my education. Like I got a property management certification just to guide my clients when they want to be landlords. I'm like, hey, why not learn that so I can help them, encourage them to that they can do it too, right? So just enjoying my life, living my best life is my goal for the future.
I can't help it. The coach in me, it comes out. So I got to ask you a question. What
Of course.
small step can you do to get to where you're looking to go as far as getting that exposure? What small steps are you going to take to get there?
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to expose more of myself on social media and being more consistent about that. I don't do that enough. I think it's sort of my age. I'm like all through high school, no computers, when I was in high school. So it's harder for me to be into the social media as much. It wasn't a part of my childhood so much. So I'm trying to push that a lot more. I go to networking events every week. I'm trying to do more events to get exposed to different people. There's so many people in the city of Long Beach to meet and like so many opportunities. Like I met you through networking, led me to this podcast opportunity to be exposed to many more people. So things like that, just being more open to opportunities, not being scared about taking them. I recently did a collaboration with a financial advisor, Ariel Bowie, her name is, and a realtor, Melinda Elmer. And we did this, we were just at Wilmore Wine Bar and we did this
I was there.
presentation. Oh, yeah, you were there. I forgot. So just like learning how to use your home equity to your advantage, right?
Mhm.
In retirement years is what we were talking about. But it was a collaboration. We brought our 3 clienteles together for this event and did a presentation and just shared our knowledge. It was a beautiful event. But I want to do more events like that and get more out there and find people who need my help and need that ethical, honest help. So just looking to meet the right people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what message would you like to relay to our audience? about you and about your work?
You know, my work, it really comes from my heart. Like, I really want to help people um, retire and be in a place where they can eliminate their mortgage payment or not have to worry about it anymore. I don't want anyone to suffer hardship. So just I want people to know that there's options out there and solutions for them, and there's hope in this industry, even though you might feel out of touch with the affordability of it. It's still building equity is still so meaningful to our futures, and housing is really important to that. So I want people to know that, and just that when I'm a mortgage broker. So as a mortgage broker, I work with hundreds of lenders. Okay. Therefore, I have many options for people. If you go to a retail bank, no, not to say bad about retail bank, because every bank has their unique niche products that they might offer that will be special to them. But when you go to one retail bank, you're only offered what their products are. So being understanding of that there's lots of options out there is so important. My job that I I have taken an oath for is to lead someone into the best loan for them personally. What is in their best interest, not what's going to pay me the most, what suits them the best. And there's actually a disclosure about this called anti-steering disclosure. I can't steer a borrower into the wrong loan type for any other benefit. It has to be for them. So if I only have 3 loans to offer you because I work at this one bank, and I know there's a better loan type that I can't offer you because it's not at my bank, am I going to tell you about it? Probably not, because that doesn't make me money, right? So just knowing that you have so many options in mortgage, it's not just Bank of America and Chase and Citibank. Like, these are not your true options. There's so much more out there for mortgage and so many interesting solutions. You just have to open your mind to it and talk to the right person, really. Yeah.
And if somebody wants to work with you because they heard you on this podcast, spitting knowledge to all of us, how would they do that?
Okay, so I'm easy to find online. Of course, I love an easy text is the best to reach me fast. So my number is 562-522-2520. And I'm Desiree at Dream Home Keys. You could also find me at dreamhomekeys.com or on Facebook/Dream Home Keys. So I have a lot of things on the internet. I'm on Zillow, different places. You can find my reviews. Not too hard to find. You could ask Paul Fortune where to find me too. He might know.
I do. I know where she's at. Right on. Before I let you go, Desiree, I always like to end with a fun question. You've been in Long Beach all your life, so I know you got some good spots. Tell me
Okay.
where to eat in town.
Oh my gosh. I love a variety. So like you could catch me in a food court probably the most. Like Second and PCH has all these cool restaurants inside that whole facility. And then the hangar in Long Beach at the LBX, like so many options, right? And then let's think, like La Taqueria. There's a newer La Taqueria that's right off of Carson and Cherry that I'll hit up a lot. Just just for some carne asada action. But what else? I know I'm forgetting like some good stuff. I'm a foodie, so I love seafood a lot. At the La Taqueria, sometimes I'll get that shrimp tostada there. It's really good. Um, so yeah, and I love that there's a 908 restaurant, really yummy at the LBX. There's so many places. You know what I think about Long Beach with food? It's like what culture's food are you trying to eat? Let's go there. We can hit up the Filipino food. We got the Mexican food. We got the Thai. Oh, Thai food. Okay, that's one of my favorites. I know a spot that not many people know about. It's called Thai Pizza. Have you ever heard of that?
Thai pizza. Is it on?
Thai
Is
Pizza.
it on? Is it on Redondo and 10th?
Yeah, you saw like the sign that says Thai Pizza right there.
Yeah.
Okay, they put Thai food on pizza. Never had anything better. And I've shared everyone I shared it with. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never tasted anything like it." And I'm like, it's amazing. It really is. So I used to live like in Signal Hill near there. So I was in the delivery zone. So I haven't been there in a while, but oh, you gotta try it, Paul. Let's go
Yeah,
for
let's do
lunch.
it. If you like Thai food, have you tried Chiang Rai on Anaheim?
No,
It's not too
no.
far from there. Oh my goodness gracious!
Good one.
Oh, it's one of the best Thai food places I've been to there, and there's a lot of good Thai food places in Long Beach.
Are, are we
That's now my
spoiled?
favorite.
We're so spoiled here.
Yeah, we
We have
are.
all, yeah, we have, it's like too much food. I'm like, we can't decide. We're like, ah, too many options.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's a good problem to have, right?
True.
Well, Desiree, it's been a pleasure to get to talking with you. I always tell my guests this, but it's true. If we were to sit and have coffee together, I probably wouldn't have learned a lot of the stuff that you told me
Right.
through this angle of podcasting. So it's kind of cool that I'm able to
Yeah.
do this and be able to get the true sense of who you are as a person. So I appreciate you opening up and telling us about your life and all the wonderful things that you do in the mortgage industry. It's obviously apparent that you know what you're doing with what you
Thank you.
mentioned to us on this podcast. So and your heart, more importantly, your heart, because knowledge can be
Yeah.
learned, but the heart is where it's at, right? Because
Yeah.
in the mortgage street, we're always learning different things. So, but your heart is your heart,
Yeah.
and your heart is for the borrower, and it shows. And as a result, you'll find the answers if you don't know them.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you having me, Paul. This was really fun. And I'm a Long Beach native. I don't think I'm ever leaving. I'm gonna be here for life. Long Beach for life.
Right on.
I love my city, and this just made so much sense to be on the podcast today. And I really had a fun time with you. So
Absolutely. It's been a Long Beach thing.